Okay, today we talk about what I call thought density momentum. Yeah, now think about those three words. I'm coining it now. I don't think anybody describes it like this. Just imagine you're thinking about a subject, an object. Okay, let's say an object. Say you're thinking about this Rizla paper, and you think about it hard. Yeah. Then you start to be prompted to think about something on the computer screen. Now, as you stop thinking about that Rizla paper and start thinking about that computer screen, so you got the Rizla paper where most of your thoughts are, yeah, then they diminish from there, and then they go into thinking about the screen. So then they start to appear when you're thinking about the screen. So you transition from thinking about the Rizla paper into thinking about the screen. Yeah. So you start off thinking about the Rizla paper. Yeah. Then you transition into thinking about the screen. So do you see your thought density is all the way here on the Rizla paper? Then it slows down, and at the same time it starts to increase on the thought about the screen. So it actually diminishes to 0 here and goes all the way up to 1 here. So that's thought density transition or momentum. And as that process takes place, as you stop thinking about the Rizla paper and start thinking about the screen, as that process starts, yeah, the diminishing thought here and the increasing thought here, as that process starts, there is a momentum. You can actually detach yourself from that process. Yeah. This is how I saw Christ and Yahweh in superposition. Because I was looking at Christ, yeah, or a sign that embodied what I consider to be Christ. Yeah. I was looking at that, and then I started to be prompted to think about Yahweh. And so I kind of diminished my thoughts of Christ and started to increase my thoughts of Yahweh. And as I was starting to see more and more of Yahweh, yeah, I saw less and less of Christ. So when I switched back, I started to see more and more of Christ. I saw less and less of Yahweh. So that's how you prove that there's a transition and there's a connection. Yeah. So this is how we also see those demons that try to possess us. You concentrate on something real hard. As you transition out of one thought into another, that's when miracles happens. That's when they try to jump into your consciousness. That's when they try to anchor you, to do all kind of neuro-linguistic programming. Yeah, it happens when you're transitioning from one thought to another. Some of your transitions are very blatantly obvious, very obvious. Like somebody can see you transitioning from one thought to another. If you're looking one way, and then you start to move your head to look to another, as you're transitioning, yeah, they'll start doing their signs, and you can see these signs. Yeah. So there's something to the transition of thought density momentum, yeah, that causes our consciousness to perform miracles. Yeah. I use this myself in self-hypnosis. When you have a pain in you, you try and transition to another place or another subject. Yeah. So if I feel a pain in my leg, I concentrate on the pain. Then I start to visualize another object like a bottle of water. Then I start to take my thoughts away into thinking about the bottle of water. Yeah. If you do this as you're praying, yeah, then I suppose the Almighty can hear your prayers. Yeah. So your eyes are a good way of transitioning thought density momentum. Moving your eyes from one side, you're looking at that, then you move them to another, but the remnants of that are still in your eyes, are still in your visual cortex. And as you're looking at that, so if I move my eyes from here to there, yeah, I don't start seeing what's there for a few seconds because the image of what's there is still in my thoughts for a few seconds until it disappears, and then what's there arrives. Yeah. So in between that, yeah, I could manipulate myself, or do self-hypnosis of myself to improve my condition. Yeah. Now my major aim is to keep people from viewing my thoughts. So as I transition from one stage to another, I've got this defensive mechanism in my mind. I start projecting that defensive mechanism only in my mind. It only affects you when you're in my mind. When you're not in my mind, when you're not violating my privacy and trying to steal my intellectual property, it doesn't affect you. I don't think it affects you. It only affects those people who try to jump into my mind, where you take your consciousness and you stop being aware of where you are, yeah, and you start being aware of what my eyes are seeing, my take on life. So you must reach a transition, yeah, where you stop realizing what's in your eyes and start realizing what's in my eyes. When you do that illegal operation, as soon as you enter my mind, that's when I start to affect you with my powers. So I don't attack anyone. I only defend myself against those who are in the process of attacking me. An eye for an eye. During the attack is when the only time what's in your head can work is when somebody is in there. If they go out of there, it doesn't work on them. If somebody attacks you, you have the right to defend yourself. Somebody comes into my mind against my will, that's like me entering a woman against her will. Yeah, that is assault. It's a form of rape. Yeah. So you find out when you start to define what's exactly going on and what the target, yeah, the rights of the target, once they get defined, and you have to give the target rights, because you are also potential targets. Yeah, anybody who gives the perpetrators rights is a potential target. Yeah, even the perpetrators themselves are potential targets. So the target needs to have rights. You figure that out. If you don't figure it out in time, then everything capitulates into a farcical way of being, and even reality might be affected. So think about the thought density, momentum, and the transition between thoughts, and be careful when you transition between one thought to another, because during those transitions, that's when you get attacked. That's when ideas get incepted into your mind.